online, people show two different sides. If I'm not tired, I'm not working hard enough. Having a hustle mentality can be favorous for yourself. Is this even real? Is this even an obtainable thing to have? A soft life is resting without any guilt. One thing I learned about myself and about life is that so much more important than hustling every day 24/7. Hello and welcome back. If you're new here, my name is DJ Silvera. I'm a DJ, content creator, entrepreneur, business woman. And if you're back from another episode, welcome back. Thank you for joining again. I honestly appreciate every one of you. So make sure you like, share, subscribe. We're going to get into the juicy bit of this conversation. Today, I wanted to sit down and talk to you about something that I deal with, and I know a lot of people deal with on the day-to-day. This is the difference between having like a soft life and being like a hustler 24/7, always got to be doing something, always got to be grinding. So we're going to just talk about the difference and what each one means to me as a person. Online, people show two different sides. There's either people who are content creators who have the soft life, who are just like journaling and meditating and sleeping and going to Pilates and getting their iced coffee. And then you see the other side of social media where it's people are grinding 24/7. If you aren't working till 3 a.m., 4 a.m. and sleeping 2 hours, then you're not going to get anywhere in life. So it's like, which one do I try to accomplish? Which one do I want to accomplish? And which one am I? For me, personally, for the longest time, I felt myself and still feel that I'm in the hustle mode. I try my best to get everything that I want to accomplish done in the day. And sometimes it could mean longer hours, but sometimes I know when to cut myself off and be like, okay, it's time to go rest. Let me deep dive into my hustle mode and my soft girly mode. So when I decided to move to Toronto, I knew that I was going to need a lot of money because it is an expensive city. I knew I was going to have bills to pay and groceries to buy, all of these things. Shout out to my parents because when I lived at home, I didn't have to pay any of these bills. But when it set in that I was going to move to Toronto, I'm like, okay, I need to find a way to hustle and get this money so that I can be comfortable and have a cushion for when I move to Toronto. So that's exactly what I did. So at the time when I was living with my parents in Windsor, which is about like 4 hours from Toronto, I worked 4 jobs, basically 4 jobs at once. I had 2 side hustles going and 2 main jobs going where I was working at Freshco, which is a grocery store here in Canada. And then I also was working at the Body Shop. I was hustling those 2 jobs as my main jobs, and then I had 2 side jobs on the side where I made clothes. I was like a little fashion designer where I made clothes for people, purses, bags, shirts, pants, everything like that. And then I also found the time to flip furniture on Facebook Marketplace, buy things, flip it, clothes, flip it, anything like that, and a few odd little jobs here and there. Anything that I could do to basically make me money. So with having all of these jobs and all these hustles, I had very long days. And mind you, I forgot to mention, I was in school full time doing my master's degree. And that was a lot as well. So with all of that tied in, I was working. I had very long days, whether it was working or studying, doing assignments, anything like that. Some days I even had like double shifts, like at least twice a week, sometimes even 3 times a week. I would have double shifts. So I'd be going from one job to the next job. And then even after going home, I'd be studying because I had, say, an exam the next day or an assignment due the next day. And I'm trying to study or trying to prep myself for whatever is to come. I was constantly tired and sometimes even feeling anxious because I knew the goal that I needed to get to Toronto, but I'm trying to push myself so hard and not taking the well-needed breaks that I needed to take. If I'm not pushing myself to do the next good thing, I felt guilty. I felt like I'm not taking the next steps that I need to take in order to get me to my goals. And I still sometimes feel that way, that I feel a little guilty when I'm not pushing myself when I feel like I should be pushing myself. Psychologically, in our head, we can feel like if I'm not tired, I'm not working hard enough. I'm not pushing myself to the point that I need to get to where I want to get to. And that's not really a good feeling, to feel tired all the time. Having a hustle mentality can be favorous for yourself, but you have to know where your limits are and when to push back a little bit. But at the same time, I did get periods of time, and still do get periods of time, where I feel burnt out, because people don't talk about what having that hustle mentality and that hustle culture can lead you to do. It can lead you to ignore yourself as a person. You can ignore how your body feels, your emotions. Now, fast forward to present me and this journey that I've been on since living in Toronto. You see all of these content creators and social media influencers talking about soft life, like I said, like going to Pilates, getting their iced coffee, just coming home and meditating and doing their journal and reading a book and not having a care in the world, where it's just easygoing, carefree, and super simple, and it just looks literally amazing. You get mesmerized, like, how can I get that life where all I have to do is wake up, get an iced coffee or a matcha, go to Pilates, then come home, make dinner, and then go to bed? Like, that's such a nice representation of what we kind of want in life, just an easygoing life, just pure rest. And it can also portray, like, is this even real? Is this even an obtainable thing to have in life? Just soft, easy going life where you don't have many worries and you don't have to push yourself to your limits and be burnt out. But at the end of the day, with reflection and understanding, I realized having a soft life isn't that. It's not something where you're lazy or you're taking the easy route to do things. Soft life is more so choosing your battles and picking where you want to be easier on yourself in life, and what areas of your life can you kind of take a step back and recuperate and understand what point you're at in your life where you can kind of take it a bit easier on yourself and not feel guilty. A soft life is resting without any guilt. A soft life is not making everything harder than it needs to be. Is finding little tips and tricks and hacks and habits that you can implement in your life day to day so that you can make your life easier, because at the end of the day, we want to make our life easier so that we can maximize our abilities in life. And honestly, one big thing, like having softer areas in my life, allows me to appreciate what I did hustling and know what it's like to hustle and kind of feel better and more relaxed, because it's like I was hustling. I still do hustle, don't get me wrong, but I know where my limits are. I know that, okay, going to bed at 10 o'clock at night is my comfort zone. Like, I like going to bed at 10 o'clock at night and not pushing myself to stay up till 2 a.m. because I'm not really maximizing my efforts at 2 a.m. My brain is foggy and I'm not really understanding and absorbing everything that I'm trying to learn at 2 a.m. compared to if I'm shutting everything off and decompressing at 9 o'clock at night and then get ready for bed at 10 p.m. That feels a bit better for me and overall has helped my mental health and my clarity on life. One thing I learned about myself and about life is that I don't need to suffer in order to gain success in this life. I already proved to myself and prove to myself every day that I can work hard, that I can sacrifice, and that I can survive through pressure and get things done when I need to get things done, because that's so much more important than hustling every day 24/7. Being able to know yourself as a person and know that you can do these things and accomplish any goal that you set out. You just have to be disciplined in certain areas and know when to take those breaks when you need them. And after learning and understanding myself, I'm learning how to move with more intention, learn to say no to certain things without having to explain myself, because like I talked about in my previous episode, the moment you're saying yes to something, you're saying no to something else that can benefit you as a person. If you always say yes to your friends to go clubbing or to go out to eat and spend money when you don't really want to spend money, you're saying no to yourself as a person. You're saying no to your goals. You're saying no to saving that money that you said you wanted to save. Instead of going out to spend $30 to $60 at the club or on dinner, you would rather be home. So sometimes you just got to say no to things, because then you're saying yes to yourself in a sense. And I'm also learning how to rest so I don't get burnt out. Because when I burn out, then I don't want to do anything. And then I feel guilty if I don't do anything. So taking those rests every day, or however often you need to take a rest to reflect on yourself and reflect on what you're doing, it's so important so you don't have that burnout period, because that period will last so much longer than taking an hour rest every day or going to bed an hour early every day. That burnout period can last a few days, a week, a month. Some people it can even last a year. So you don't want to get yourself to that point where you're so burnt out that you can't produce anything that you want to produce, because that's when the hustle culture can become very crucial for someone. It could be such a hard thing for you to switch. I'm not saying you have to switch your mentality overnight, because when you come from the survival mode and the survival instincts and the hustle instincts, when you take a rest, it can feel unsafe. It can feel like uncomfortable territory, and you just want to be like, whoa, what is going on here? Why am I taking a break? Am I okay? But at the end of the day, you are okay. It is okay to take a break. I'm here to tell you that, because sometimes I don't have that mentality where I'm like, it's okay to take a break. It's okay. But it really is okay at the end of the day. If you don't take breaks, like I said, you're just going to burn out, and that's going to be so much more crucial and have bigger setbacks on what you're trying to accomplish. And if you're listening to this and you're in that 4-job hustle, or staying up till 3 a.m. or trying to work 24/7, 0 sleep, 2 hours of sleep, if you're in that era, I see you, you're heard, you're understood. I totally get the place that you're in, because you have these goals that you want to accomplish. So I totally get that. And if you're also in that point of life where you're trying to soften your life after these years of grinding, I see you too, because I was in your shoes as well. I still am in your shoes. I try to push myself to do such amazing things, and I know you are too, and you will. You just have to take those steps and trust in yourself that with these steps, you're going to get there. I want you to understand both versions of yourself matter. Being a hustler matters, but also taking that time to rest and giving yourself grace, it matters just as much, because that is what gives you the motivation and the spark to keep hustling, to keep going. Having that rest, you can dream about what you want to accomplish and sleep and let your brain process everything that you thought about for the day and everything that you've been hustling to do throughout the day. And just know that you're not lazy for wanting to have an easier life, a softer life. You're not weak for wanting to have peace and clarity and comfort within yourself. And you don't need to earn rest by suffering first. You need to rest first and prioritize yourself first. Having a softer life in certain areas doesn't mean that you're not accomplishing your goals. You're just preventing those burnouts that will stop you from reaching those goals. So make sure you take that time to rest. Make sure you take time to check in on your friends that you see are hustling 24/7 or sleeping very little. Check up on them. Send them this podcast so that they know that they don't need to be doing that to themselves and pushing past boundaries that might not be helping them in the long run. Taking that extra time for yourself, doing something that makes you feel good about yourself is so important that once you start doing it, you're going to notice a difference within yourself and within your hustle that you are trying to accomplish. So yes, keep hustling, but also keep resting and prioritizing yourself first, because that's what's important. Thank you for listening to this episode of Silvera Sessions. If you found this beneficial in any way, make sure you like, share, subscribe, send this to someone who needs to hear this. I'm always here to help. So comment down below if you have any topics that you'd like to touch on, and I'll see you on the next episode. Bye.